Hello, brothers, and welcome to Sigma Old Man channel. The most dangerous person in the room is the one who has mastered the art of restraint. Here's a fact to set the tone. Studies have shown that the quietest people often have the sharpest minds and the scariest ability to hold a grudge. Now pair that with someone who thrives in their own solitude, values logic over emotion, and doesn't care about your need for attention. And what do you get? A Sigma. Provoking one isn't just a mistake, it's a masterclass in self-sabotage. The thing is, Sigmas don't react like everyone else. They won't scream, cry, or flip the table. No, they'll do something far worse. They'll make you irrelevant. And let's face it, being ignored by someone who doesn't even need you is a bruise your ego might never recover from. So if you're thinking about poking the proverbial bear, let me remind you, it's not the roar that's scary, it's the silence before it. Number one, they're the storm you didn't see coming. Provoking a Sigma is like setting off a storm you never saw coming. At first it feels like nothing happened. They don't react, they don't argue, and they definitely don't give you the satisfaction of an emotional outburst. But don't mistake their calm exterior for weakness. It's the eerie quiet before a hurricane levels the entire coastline. They don't need to yell or retaliate in obvious ways. They let time, precision, and their unwavering self-discipline do all the heavy lifting. What makes this storm so terrifying is how unpredictable it is. Sigmas don't respond on your timeline, and they don't fight battles you've prepared for. Instead, they'll dismantle your actions in ways that seem subtle at first, but hit like thunder when you finally realize the extent of the damage. Whether it's cutting you out of their life without explanation, or succeeding so magnificently that you feel the weight of their absence every single day, their responses are always calculated, never chaotic. You can't prepare for it, and you can't outrun it. Sigmas don't thrive on revenge. They thrive on excellence. Their ability to rise above the situation isn't just a flex. It's a reality check for anyone who doubted them. And when the dust settles, you'll be left dealing with the fallout while they've already moved on, untouchable and unbothered. The scariest part? They didn't have to lift a finger to prove anything. You poked the wrong person, and now you're left holding the pieces of your shattered pride, wondering why you ever thought they'd play your game. A Sigma doesn't need to roar, they let the storm they create speak for them. Number two, they'll outthink you without lifting a finger. A Sigma's greatest weapon is their mind, and when you provoke them, you've unknowingly stepped into a game you're wildly unprepared for. Their thought process isn't just sharp, it's on another level entirely. They're always several moves ahead, analyzing every word, action, and motive with the precision of a grandmaster on a chessboard. Meanwhile, you're fumbling with the rules of checkers, completely unaware that you're already losing. What makes it worse is their ability to stay calm and composed while your intentions unravel. They don't need to raise their voice or argue back. They let your own words and actions expose you. By the time you realize what's happening, they've already dismantled your argument, poked holes in your reasoning, and left you scrambling to recover. And here's the kicker. They do all of this effortlessly, almost as if it's second nature. Sigmas don't waste time on unnecessary drama or emotional outbursts. Instead, they rely on their intellect to turn the tables in ways you didn't see coming. Their ability to predict your moves before you make them leaves you feeling vulnerable, almost as if they've read your mind. It's not that they're trying to outsmart you, it's that they can't help it. They've trained themselves to see the bigger picture, to spot patterns, and to stay 10 steps ahead in any situation. And while you're busy reacting, they've already decided how this ends. Whether it's exposing your intentions, outmaneuvering your plan, or simply walking away without a scratch, a Sigma's mind is their ultimate power. Provoking them isn't just a bad idea, it's a surefire way to find yourself outclassed without even knowing how it happened. Number three, they have no need to prove themselves. A Sigma's strength lies in their complete detachment from external validation. They don't need your approval, your applause, or even your acknowledgement to feel secure in who they are. This makes them immune to the games most people play to assert dominance or win an argument. When provoked, they don't rise to the bait. Instead, they'll calmly strip away the facade of your own need for validation, leaving you exposed and floundering in the spotlight you tried to put on them. What's unsettling is how effortlessly they do this. They don't engage in petty battles or emotional theatrics because they're simply uninterested. Their self-worth doesn't hinge on proving you wrong or coming out on top. This indifference is their power, and it's what makes provoking them such a grave mistake. While you're busy trying to prove your point, they're silently showing you how irrelevant your approval really is. Sigmas operate by their own internal compass, and when you try to pull them into a conflict, it's like throwing punches at smoke. They won't play by your rules, won't meet you on your level, and won't give you the satisfaction of seeing them flinch. Instead, they'll watch as your need for validation crumbles under its own weight, all while remaining completely unbothered. This calm confidence is unnerving because it's rare. Most people are desperate to prove themselves in the face of provocation, but not a Sigma. Their refusal to engage isn't a sign of weakness. It's a declaration of how little they need anything from you. In the end, you're left questioning why you even started the fight while they've already moved on, unfazed and unimpressed. Number 4, they'll transform your words into your downfall. Provoking a Sigma is like handing them the rope to tie your argument in knots. They don't rush to respond or get defensive. Instead, they absorb everything you say, dissecting it piece by piece. Their silence isn't a sign of submission, it's a strategy. And when they do speak, it's not to shout or argue, but to reflect your words back at you with laser-sharp precision. What makes this so devastating is how effortlessly they expose the cracks in your logic. They don't twist your words or manipulate the truth, they simply highlight the contradictions you've already put on the table. A Sigma thrives on clarity and truth, and if your words don't align with either, they'll dismantle them with the kind of brutal honesty that leaves no room for rebuttal. This isn't about being petty or vindictive, it's about holding up a mirror to your own behavior. A Sigma doesn't waste time making baseless accusations or throwing insults. They let your own words do the heavy lifting. And when they're done, you're left standing in the wreckage of your own contradictions, wondering how they managed to turn a simple conversation into your personal reckoning. The real sting comes from how calm they remain through it all. While you're flustered or scrambling for a comeback, they're cool, composed, and entirely in control. They don't need to dominate the conversation, they just steer it in a way that leaves you unraveling. Provoking a Sigma isn't just a mistake, it's an education in how your own words, when placed in the wrong hands, can become the very tools of your downfall. Number 5, they use logic to crush your ego. When you provoke a Sigma, you're not entering an emotional shouting match. You're walking into a battlefield of logic where every weapon is sharpened with precision. Sigmas don't waste energy on emotional retaliation, instead they wield facts, logic, and an almost unnerving level of clarity to deconstruct everything you throw at them. And they do it so calmly that it feels less like a conversation and more like a surgical dissection of your ego. They'll take your argument, break it down step by step, and expose every flaw without breaking a sweat. There's no need for raised voices or dramatic gestures. They let the sheer weight of their reasoning do the damage. By the time they're finished, you're not just wrong, you're questioning why you even started. The humiliation isn't loud or public, it's quiet and deeply personal. You walk away realizing you've just been intellectually outclassed in a way that stings far more than any insult ever could. The worst part, they don't even seem bothered. While you're reeling from the loss, they've already moved on, leaving you to replay the conversation in your head, wondering where it all went wrong. Sigmas don't fight to win approval or applause, they fight to settle the truth. And when they bring out the facts, there's no room for debate. It's not just a loss, it's annihilation. Provoking a Sigma isn't just a mistake because they're smart, it's a mistake because they don't let emotions cloud their judgment. They use logic like a scalpel, not a hammer. And by the end of it, your ego won't just be bruised, it'll be obliterated. And the quiet confidence with which they dismantle you, that's the final nail in the coffin. Number 6, they will make you feel expendable. Provoking a Sigma is like stepping onto thin ice, only to realize there's no safety net beneath you. Sigmas are fiercely independent, and their ability to operate without relying on anyone is what makes them so unshakable. They don't need your validation, approval, or support to thrive. So when you provoke them, they don't retaliate in the ways you might expect. Instead, they'll show you, silently and unequivocally, just how expendable you are to their life. It's not a loud declaration or a dramatic exit. They won't argue, plead, or try to explain your place in their world. They'll simply cut you off emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even physically. And the worst part? Their life will carry on without so much as a ripple. While you're left staring at the void they used to fill, you'll quickly realize they never leaned on you. If anything, you leaned on them. Sigmas don't hold grudges, they hold boundaries. Once you cross a line, they won't waste time trying to fix things. They're not afraid to let go, and they're certainly not afraid to thrive in your absence. The sting comes when you see how effortlessly they move on, while you're left grappling with the emptiness of your own actions. The realization that you hold no power over them isn't just humbling, it's devastating. Sigmas have an aura of self-sufficiency that makes you question your own relevance. They don't need anyone to validate their worth, and when they show you how easily they can replace your presence or do without it altogether, it's a lesson in just how much you overestimated your influence. You provoked them, and now you're left with the bitter truth. In their world, you were always optional. Number 7, they redefine the concept of ghosting. When a Sigma decides to leave, it's not your average passive-aggressive ghosting where someone vanishes but still lingers on the edges of your life. No, Sigmas redefine ghosting by turning it into an art form. When they're done, they're done. They don't leave breadcrumbs, they don't peek at your stories, and they certainly don't accidentally like an old photo of yours 6 months later. It's a complete and total erasure, not just of them from your life, but of you from theirs. You won't get a heartfelt explanation, a farewell text, or even the courtesy of a hint. They'll vanish with surgical precision, taking every ounce of access you once had to them. No lingering conversations, no cryptic posts aimed at you. They'll move on so cleanly that you'll be left wondering if they were ever real in the first place. It's like they press a reset button, and suddenly your chapter in their story is erased as if it never existed. The most unnerving part, they're not doing it to be cruel or dramatic, it's just who they are. Sigmas don't see the point in drawn-out goodbyes or messy closures. For them, detachment is an act of self-preservation, not revenge. Once they decide you're no longer worth their energy, they redirect that energy into their own growth, leaving you stuck replaying the moments they shared with you, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. You'll find yourself grasping at thin air, desperate for some sort of acknowledgement or closure, but they'll give you nothing. They're already on to the next chapter of their lives while you're left stuck in the one where they were the protagonist. When a Sigma ghosts, it's not just an exit, it's a disappearance act that leaves you haunted by their absence. Number 8, they'll never play the victim. A Sigma doesn't have time to play the victim because they're too busy rewriting the narrative. When provoked, they don't sit around replaying the situation or fishing for sympathy from others. In fact, they find self-pity exhausting and downright counterproductive. While most people might milk a moment of hurt for attention or validation, a Sigma channels that energy into bouncing back stronger than ever. And here's the kicker. They do it so effortlessly, it makes your attempts to hurt them look laughable in hindsight. They won't post cryptic quotes online, call up mutual friends to vent, or try to drag you into a pity party. Instead, they'll dust themselves off, assess the situation, and figure out how to move forward without missing a beat. Their resilience is the kind that makes you question why you even tried to rattle them in the first place. While you're busy waiting for a reaction or hoping they'll crumble, they're quietly building themselves back up, unaffected by your drama. This ability to rise above isn't just admirable, it's intimidating. Sigmas turn every slight or provocation into fuel for growth, using it as a reminder of their independence and inner strength. They don't need anyone's pity because they don't see themselves as victims, no matter how unfair the situation may have been. And that's what really stings. Your attempt to knock them down doesn't just fail, it becomes irrelevant. They move on with such calm, collected determination that it highlights how petty and small your actions were. In the end, you're left grappling with your own immaturity while they're already 10 steps ahead, proving that the best response to adversity is not revenge, but thriving unapologetically. Number 9, they force you to rethink your entire approach. Provoking a Sigma is like triggering a psychological mirror that forces you to face yourself in ways you never expected. Their ability to remain calm and collected, even in the face of your attacks, will make you question not just your words or behavior, but your entire approach to interacting with others. They don't need to say much, just their quiet, unshakable presence is enough to throw your usual methods of manipulation, persuasion, or defense completely off balance. By the time you realize the impact they've had on you, it's too late. You're left replaying your every move, questioning why you reacted the way you did, why you assumed they would respond like everyone else. Did you push too hard? Was your approach too aggressive or thoughtless? The Sigma won't tell you any of this, but their very existence will make you reevaluate your entire strategy when it comes to dealing with people. And it's not just about tactics, it's about your deeper motivations. You'll start questioning why you act the way you do, whether your intentions are pure, or if you've been operating from a place of insecurity or selfishness all along. The Sigma doesn't need to confront you directly, they force you to confront yourself. What makes this so unsettling is that it's not a confrontation you can win. The Sigma's indifference reveals your weaknesses and forces you to reckon with them without a single word of criticism. It's a humbling experience that forces you to acknowledge how you've been navigating life and relationships, and more importantly, how far you still have to go in truly understanding your own behavior. By the time you catch up with their level of self-awareness, they're already way ahead, leaving you to grapple with the uncomfortable realization that you've been the one who needs to change. Number 10, they don't compete, they dominate. Sigmas don't bother with petty rivalries or trying to outdo others in flashy ways. Competing is beneath them because they understand a fundamental truth. True power doesn't come from trying to beat others at their own game. It comes from creating your own game entirely. When you provoke a Sigma, they won't engage in a back and forth, trying to prove themselves superior to you. They'll simply rise above the situation, outclassing you without breaking a sweat, until your attempts to compete seem absurd and irrelevant. They don't need to show off, argue, or get involved in ego-driven challenges. Instead, they operate with a quiet dominance that's impossible to ignore once you're in their orbit. It's not a showy dominance, it's the kind that doesn't require acknowledgement or recognition from anyone else. The Sigma knows their worth, and they don't need to convince anyone of it. They let their actions speak for themselves, actions that effortlessly outshine your efforts. By the time you realize what's happening, the Sigma has already moved on, leaving you stuck in a cycle of trying to keep up. Your attempts to rival them are now just background noise as they continue to soar in ways you never saw coming. Their quiet confidence is the very thing that makes them untouchable. They don't waste energy on proving their superiority. They simply exist on a level that makes your competition look trivial, ensuring that by the time you catch up, they've already left you far behind. Provoking a Sigma isn't just a mistake, it's a profound miscalculation. In a world where drama, noise, and power struggles reign, they stand apart, untouched and unbothered. They don't seek validation, they don't play by the rules, and they certainly don't waste time trying to make others see their worth. When you challenge them, you're not just poking at a person, you're testing the limits of your own understanding of resilience, intelligence, and self-sufficiency. The truth is, a Sigma doesn't need to react in the conventional ways. They don't need to retaliate, explain themselves, or show you just how wrong you are. Instead, they simply evolve, rise above, and leave you in awe of their quiet power while you're left grappling with the realization that you were never even on their radar. So if you ever find yourself thinking about provoking a Sigma, just know one thing. It won't just be your ego that takes a hit, it'll be your entire approach to handling people. They won't stoop to your level or engage in the games you're used to. They'll rise far beyond it, and you'll be left watching as they effortlessly dominate in ways you never saw coming. You'll be forced to reckon with your own actions, your own limitations, and your own desperate need for validation. The only regret you'll have that you ever tried to provoke someone who operates on an entirely different level. If you found this perspective eye-opening and want more thought-provoking content, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out. Don't forget to like, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm curious to know how you've encountered the quiet power of a Sigma in your life. Let's keep the conversation going and share this with anyone who could use a little insight into why provoking a Sigma is the last thing you should ever do. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now, and see you in the next video.